Hello and welcome to our monthly program with the European Policy Centre. Today we focus on the public hearings of the 27 commissioners-designate in front of the members of the European Parliament, which actually starts today on the 29th of September. To focus on this issue, my guest is Janis Emmanouilidis, Director of Studies at the European Policy Centre. Hello.
Hello.
And welcome. So, each commissioner-designate will be grilled during 3 hours, answering to more than 40 questions. And the main question is not whether the European Parliament will reject one of them, but who it will be. So, we have the Spanish Mr. Cañete. We know that he is going to face a toughest hearing, but also other ones like Mr. Hill, the British one on financial affairs. So I don't know if you like sports games, Mr. Emmanouilidis, but if you have to bet on one name, only one, who is going to be rejected? Do you think?
I would not bet, because it depends on how they will do in the hearings. We've seen that in the past, that there have been people who already designated commissioners who already before the hearings, there were certain question marks added to their names, but it depended on how they reacted within the hearings, how they responded to questions, whether they made any clumsy mistakes in the...
It may be quite impossible that all the commissioner-designate are accepted.
Yes, we've seen in the past that individual designated commissioners in the end had to be or were rejected and had to be replaced. But I think it's a bit different this time around for 2 reasons. One is that we've had the experience of Spitzenkandidaten, the fact that Commission President Juncker became commissioner the way how he became commissioner. So he's kind of our commissioner from the perspective of the pro-European forces in the European Parliament, which had supported him. So it is difficult for them to shoot down the Commission in the same way maybe as 5 or 10 years ago. And the second difference is that you have an increased number of anti-forces in the European Parliament, especially on the right, where there are fears that if the European Parliament and the hearings run into severe problems, that they would maybe profit from that politically most. They would await that kind of a situation in order to make their case, to present themselves. And I think that many members of the European Parliament, the majority of them, the traditional pro-European forces, want to avoid giving them the opportunity, the radical forces, to play that game.
And by nominating a Greek man in charge of immigration policy or a French man in charge of economic affairs, Mr. Juncker, so the European Commission's president, seems to push some countries in front of their own national problems. Do you think this was his intention?
Well, I think the general intention of President Juncker is to send out the signal that this Commission is going to be a strong political actor, that it wants to regain some of the importance in the EU's institutional balance, and he wants to achieve that through making the EU more of a political actor. I think that's the key message he wants to send. And he didn't avoid difficult decisions. So with making the Greek responsible for migration, for making Jonathan Hill, the British, responsible for financial markets. He was sending a signal also to these individual member states, saying that we trust you, we want you, in the case of the UK, to play a key part in the European Union, to remain within the European Union. We take your interests into account. So he was sending these kind of political messages to individual member states, as he did also in the Greek case, saying that we're giving you a strong portfolio. At the same time, he's putting in place also the system of vice presidents. So he's grouping individual commissioners into groupings, giving the vice president a particular responsibility. So that is in some ways limiting the ability of portfolio commissioners. So he's trying to find the right balance between giving strong portfolios to people like Moscovici, Hill, or Avramatopoulos, but at the same time trying to limit them also by putting in place the vice president system, which we have to see whether it will work in practice.
So finally, if the European Parliament votes against these new EU commissions, which is expected on October 22, some countries will need to replace some candidates, and this will just start it over and over again. So it will slow down important issues such as the trade, transatlantic agreement, or the budget.
Well, first of all, my feeling is that in the end, the European Parliament will accept the Juncker Commission. However, from now to then, we have something to go through, which are the hearings. And there is some time between the second phase of hearings next week, and the final vote in the European Parliament. So in case there is a problem here or there with individual commissioners, Mr. Juncker could try to find a solution, either by going to the utmost, which is to replace individual candidates and ask member states to replace them by other candidates, to nominate other people to become commissioners, but he could also put in place certain less rigorous things and measures in order to cool down the situation with the European Parliament, trying to relax the situation, saying that, yes, there is an issue, and we've found a way to balance that, to cushion the concerns which you have. And I think there will be time in between. And by the way, even if there would be a certain kind of a postponement, in the end, the world will still continue to move. So it's not the end of the world in case things don't work out, but I think that they will in the end.
Thank you, Mr. Emmanouilidis. So this is not the end of the world, but the hearings will end up on October 7th, and we will know the final vote on the 22nd of October. See you next time. Bye.